How are you? Good day to you. You're at the spot, the location, the place, your favorite place, where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Today, we are going to talk to Toni Eastwood OBE, MBA. Oh, yes, she has got all these titles and letters after her name. She's in Spain right now, one of my favorite places on the planet, by way of the UK. We're going to talk a little bit about her book. We're going to talk about eating disorders and bullying. Does one coincide with the other? What can people do? There's two sides to eating disorders. Sometimes you over, sometimes you under, but the underlying premise is sometimes it's control. It's you know, your body image, body dysmorphia, pain, stress, or like me, you're greedy. So let's welcome her to the show. How are you, Toni Eastwood?
Oh, I'm very good, April. It's so lovely to be here with you and to hopefully entertain a little bit your lovely listeners, the brains, which I love that. I love that.
I love that shirt. It's iridescent because
Oh, yes, fab, isn't it?
that is pretty fabulous. Every time you kind of move the colors, it resonates and it penetrates your aura, which is beautiful. So I see a lot of pink in your future.
Yeah, I love pink.
It's there. So tell us a little bit about you, Toni, and how you show up in the world.
Yeah, so I am learning to show up better and to be more me, not to hide behind my, fears and doubts and all of those things that a lot of us have. So I've spent the last 30 years working with small, medium-sized enterprises, and 15 of those years working particularly with women-owned enterprises, women who want to start and grow their own careers, helping women to get on in the corporate world. And I spent some time in the States, actually, with your Small Business Administration, looking at what it was you were doing over there to support minority businesses, and brought that back to the UK and worked with the UK government writing their women's enterprise strategy back in about 2004. So I've really spent a long time researching and trying to understand what makes successful people successful. And that was mostly driven from my own demons, really, just not spending a lot of my life not feeling good enough, not feeling like I would ever achieve anything, not feeling like I could be successful, just afraid of everything.
Okay, let's pump the brakes right there.
Yeah.
Because I like to interject. What made you feel that way? Because this is the hard part. Do we just wake up one day and say, you know what, that's not who I want to be or whatever? That, in my mind, has to be something that is introduced by your environment.
Absolutely.
Is it, parenting? Because again, nobody has a template on parenting. We don't know what's going on in your little head. Siblings. Sometimes it's the middle child syndrome. I've got a friend right now, that middle child is struggling. So what I do is I extract the middle child and make them feel extra special.
Yeah.
Is it communication style? Is it, and I say with love, is it a mental health challenge that you're more with on? What is it that when you realize that this wasn't it, I need to find something different? But how did you identify that you weren't feeling right?
I think, it does go back, I suppose, post-rationalizing it to when I was younger and being bullied. So I think what that did was made me retreat inwards. And I was afraid to say anything, afraid to be myself, afraid to kind of show any, anything I was good at. I was actually quite good at running and athletics and gymnastics and trampolining, but I never actually tried hard because I didn't want to make myself, center of attraction, because I knew that caused the bully and her cronies to like pick on me, to fight with me. So, and that happens for 15 years.
See, this is my thing. That word bully has just really gotten too much credibility.
Yeah,
You have to stand up for yourself. Little brains and big brains, you have to open your mouth. This is
absolutely.
unacceptable. I don't like how this makes me feel. Ask the person when is the last time they looked in the mirror, because they're not perfect either. But what happens is the bully always needs an entourage because they are insecure, so that they need other people to co-sign on their craziness. What do you say to the young girl that was in your shoes back then? How do you tell her to, pump your brakes, stop? You're going to respect me. How do you tell her to stand up for herself?
Yeah, I mean, that's been something that, again, like looking back at it, there was no sort of support system I'm going back 50 years. So there was nothing there. There was that, the teachers, if you went to the teachers, they would say something to the girl and then she'd beat me up again. If I said, I never really told my mum and dad. So all the time, I never told them what was going on. So they never really knew. But, if I went back, I would tell her to damn well stick up for herself and, like punch the the girl's lights out, which sounds very aggressive. But,
no, it
I
doesn't sound
think,
aggressive. Let me tell you, my mother really
yeah,
quickly, my mother, I was scared to come downstairs to get into the car because there was a little girl, her name was Pebbles. Oh, Pebbles had 6 or 7 people and she wasn't big as a flea. My mother pulled the car over and she said, okay, get out and handle it. I was like, what? Well, we wrestled and tussled. It wasn't a big, a big to do, but I gained what we call street credibility.
absolutely, yeah.
And you don't want to do that. But not only do you have the little people, but you have the adults bullying in the workplace. You have these friends that you think are friends. They're not friends.
No.
They're frenemies. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I
And
think the thing is, if you don't deal with it, it comes back until you do deal with it. So I've had, periods of time where I found the bully and it's taken me back to that schoolyard playground again. But again, I'm very now very sort of clear cut about what I will and what I won't stand for, and I will say something. I will just say, I'm not sure where that's come from, or, just try and deal with it without, I try and say, I'm going to spread the love. So if you want to spread hate or whatever, you do that, but I'm going to come back at you and say, what's that about? And I do know for sure in 9 times out of 10 cases, there is a problem for that person who is being the bully. And I found out later on that she was abused in her family from a very young age. So, I've learned to forgive, what she did. I can I can't understand why she, what she did, but I understand maybe why she was in a very vulnerable place. And therefore,
hurt people.
absolutely.
So you find yourself in the situation where you're being mistreated. You don't know how to verbally communicate it to your parents. Parents, I ask you, remove the device, take your kid out for ice cream, a ride in the car. Say, hey, let's go for a walk around the park. They will tell you what is going on, but you as a parent have to magnify your listening skills. You have to use communication skills sometimes that are nonverbal. Do you see a bruise? Do you see a bump? Do you see this child not wanting to eat? Do you see this child resisting, not wanting to go to school? Do you see them flinch or cringe? When's the last time you just embraced them and held them and told them that you loved them? I don't care if they're 15 years old. When is the last time that you engaged mano a mano? These are key tips and tricks and tools that you can use to identify if there is pain there. And if you exercise this regularly, these children will open up to you. Is it your wife dreading to go to work? Oh my God, I'm this, I'm that. Or, you go there and you're not happy. I want to change my job. I want to quit. Somebody told me something strange the other day. Told me that her husband all of a sudden says, I'm going to retire. And then 2 weeks later, I've retired. Well, you know, you've been there 28 years or something strange going on there.
Yeah.
Are you magnifying your listening skills? So, did all of this trauma that you went through cause you to have an eating challenge, eating disorder?
I think that was what it manifested in, because I suppose that's the only thing that you can control.
Mm-hmm.
When you're that age, there's nothing else that you're in control of, really. And so what I would do is I would overeat and then make myself sick. And I would, if I ever had any pocket money, it wasn't ever a lot of money, but I'd go and buy just loads of sweets and I'd just binge eat. And I think that, you get a bit of comfort, don't you, from that sort of food. So I'd eat rubbish.
That's what my friend asked me the other day. She says, you're always talking about, want to lose weight and this, that, and the other shit, but are you eating to live? Are you living to eat? Or are you eating for entertainment?
Yeah. And yes, all of the above.
Yeah, but I guess it was entertainment because sometimes I'm not hungry, but that cookie sure looks good as you walk past it. So what I do is I don't even buy it. If I don't buy it, then you don't worry about it. But
yeah, that's the best thing.
It's the control. A lot of people say it's the control. African American women, we eat up every damn thing. We don't, we don't do the opposite where we throw up or we don't eat at all. But it's the mental control. When you were in that space, did you feel like you had control over your situation, or was it kind of a little bit of a self-loathing? Do you remember?
I think it was kind of self-loathing, really, because I felt fat, ugly. People didn't like me. Do you know what I mean? It's just, it came from that. I don't feel like I felt that was control. I've no idea really where it came from. I don't even know what made me first started doing it, but I did. And I did it till well into my 30s, actually.
Really?
And then I realized that actually it's just really unhealthy. And I wasn't losing weight from it either. So I just binge eat and make myself sick, and that was it. And then I think, because when I was a lot younger, we're talking a long time ago, that these eating disorders were, they weren't labeled, they weren't a thing. Now, and then as I was getting older, I was seeing it in magazines, and I'm thinking, oh, actually, that is me. I'm like that. And I did just, stop doing it.
So you
I just realized,
I just realized that this is not it for me.
Stop it. Yeah.
But what happens, from what I understand, is now that the body is in shock. The body is used to consuming X amount of calories, whether positive or negative. It's running on that. That's the cortisone and everything is accumulating in the brain. The stress, the anxiety. It's like serotonin, or it's like any other drug. Heroin, cigarettes, alcohol, sex, gambling. It fires something in your brain. So when you got a hold of it and you said, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore, you realized and woke up to a whole new Toni Eastwood.
Yeah. And I started really focusing. I suppose I replaced that for another obsession, which was to really crack down with my career, to think about what, how I could be more successful. So I started collecting qualifications at that point then, because there was still that underlying, I'm not going to be successful until I've got, an MBA, or I've got a degree. Because I came out of school, because of the bullying and hiding myself, I came out of school with no qualifications. So I didn't go to college. I didn't go to university. It wasn't an option for me. My parents couldn't afford it, but they weren't quite poor enough to get it paid for. So, it was get straight to work. And I later, from about 24, I started focusing on, looking at the people around me, my superiors, and looking at, well, what qualifications have they got? Well, I should go and get one of them then. And I did. till I was 40. From 24 to 40, I did a qualification probably every 2 years. I was
Wow.
always studying. I did love it. I absolutely loved it, learning. And I did loads of stuff around leadership and entrepreneurship. And I kind of fell in love with that and research and trying to understand, what holds people back, what is it successful people do, and how can I help them? How can I apply that to what I was doing to help others, in that field?
That's huge, but you poured it into something
Yeah.
positive. But
Yes.
again, it's obsessive behavior. Did you ever fall into the overachiever syndrome?
No,
No, because you were
no.
because maybe you were making up for lost time.
I was making up for lost time as well, but I always, again, I never, I never tried to kind of overachieve and sort of put that out there or anything. Again, I kept it very low key,
Okay.
and even to the point where I didn't even. I did the studying, but I left everything to the last minute. So I didn't like put a lot of effort into my homework or stuff that I'd have to hand in. I literally would hand it in on the morning it was due in, having sat up all night doing it. And then I used to actually get quite good marks, and people around me would say, "That's so not fair. I've been working on this for weeks."
You say,
And
damn
then
if I do and damn if I don't.
yeah,
You can't win
exactly.
here.
Yeah.
So tell us
But
a little bit about the award that you achieved, because all of this, culminated into great success. What is an OBE from the Queen?
so it stands for Order of the British Empire.
Ooh,
Yeah. So yeah. So I was awarded that in 2007 in the New Year's Honours List. And it was awarded to me for contribution to equal opportunities. So for the work that I did for women in business, and the research that I mentioned that I did in America and brought back to the UK, I published that and some other pieces around why women were leaving tech companies, even back in those days, why they weren't starting up in business at the same level that men were, and why they weren't achieving in leadership positions. So a guy from, it's like a regional kind of authority in the UK, I actually really put my neck out and sort of put my head above the parapet around what he and his team were not doing to try and get equality in enterprise startup in that area of England. It was the east of England. And I really gave him what for. And in the end, I ended up setting up a strategic party, going out to the European Union and winning a few million pounds for the region to set up all these programs. And as a result of that, he actually put in a recommendation to the Queen that I get this award.
See, you were
So
vindicated for
amazing.
all of that bullying in the past.
Absolutely.
You pulled that back up and you said, you know what? I am going to use my powers for good and not evil. So bravo.
Yes.
Bravo for you. You also, like I said, you gained an MBA. So, academia was really important to you and studying that. But you wrote a book. Tell us a little bit about the book that you wrote.
Yeah. So in 2018, I finally knuckled down and wrote a book that, I mean, everyone says there's a book in everyone, isn't there?
Yes.
And, I was, at that time, I'd started running my own business in 2012. And I had took all of the research that I'd done and developed this model called the Aspire model, which sort of underpins everything that I do now in business. And I wanted to get that sort of in writing. I wanted to be able to write my story so that other people who have been through bullying or, just not felt good enough could maybe use that book and say, well, if she did it, then I could. So even if just one person reads it and it feels like they could. So the front of the book is my story and some little tales from, when I was younger and going through where I met other situations in the workforce. And then the back of the book is the Aspire model with, it's kind of a self-help questions that you can go through that sort of stretch and challenge your thinking, help you look at your purpose and identity, help you look at what's stopping you getting on, and hopefully put a plan together for moving forwards. So,
well, that's good. It's the little engine that could. That was a book,
yes.
children's book here, that
Oh,
it really helped children with that. And what we want to do is we want to try to address this as young as possible. Because
gosh, yeah.
these people are going to grow up to be contributors in society. Work, home, school, your kid's teacher. Can you imagine a teacher that's a bully?
Yeah.
A boss that's a bully? We want to try to do that. But when we come across this person, in the back of your mind, in your subconscious mind, conjure up a strategy for kindness. This person is giving you a problem at work all the time. Take them out of the work environment and invite them to lunch. Say, sometimes we just don't click. And I just want to see what it is. Can we go and, have some ice cream, a cup of coffee, extract them from that control environment?
Yeah. Yeah.
See what it's about. Look if there's a pattern of behavior. Because I'm sure that you're not the only one that they're bullying. You're the person that's probably being mostly impacted and hurt by that. And also understand that it's not you. You are good enough, whatever that enough is. It could be this much, it could be this much, it could be this much. Nobody has the yardstick to measure it but you. So let's ask you some fun questions.
Go on then.
Back of that wall, it says, life is a beautiful ride. If you were a ride, Queen Toni, what kind of car would you be?
Oh, I would be a Mercedes, little sports car, SL, I think they call them.
Hardtop or convertible?
Convertible. And it'd probably be pink.
Oh, pink? Well, you're going to have a custom one. I always tell people I want to be like a 1970 VW van.
Oh, yeah, I love those.
Kind of hippie-ish. So
yeah.
If you were an appliance in the kitchen, what appliance would you be?
I think I'd be a blender. I like to mix it up a bit.
Okay. All right. That's good. I'd be the air fryer. I want to keep it hot
and dry.
And dry, absolutely. But still crunchy.
Yeah.
But still crunchy. If you were a flower in the garden, what flower would you be?
What flower would I be? I think I would be, there's a favorite flower here. It's called Dames de Noches. So it's Lady of the Night, and it's the most beautiful perfume. And you can smell it for miles, but you actually can't see where it is. But it's a tiny little white flower, almost like the shape of a lilac. And it's absolutely stunning.
Well, I'm gonna have to look that up and get and see what that's all about. If you could time travel, past, present, or future, where would you land?
I think I would go back to the past and change some things up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a nice way. I'm very grateful for everything that I've experienced, because otherwise I wouldn't have come out here as I am and what I'm doing. I fundamentally believe that. But I think, I could have done some things a lot earlier, and certainly I would have gone into business a lot earlier. And I would have missed out a few things that I did that, actually were a bit of a waste of time. But
if you didn't experience that waste of time,
you never know, do you?
You don't know what you don't know. And
yeah.
you probably say right now, I wish I had wasted more time.
Yeah.
So that's good. Where in the world is it that you want to travel to that you have not been to yet?
I've never really done the Far East, sort of Japan and China. And I love a bit of, I love the gurus from the East.
I see the Buddha right behind you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've never been to India. I'd love to do the Taj Mahal, and I'd love to, experience the cherry blossoms in Japan, and see the
Good.
Yangtze River and things like that. Yeah,
Well, good. So you have a lot of things to put on your life list. Tell us a little bit
absolutely.
about your coaching program and what people have to look forward to when they work with you, Toni.
So definitely, you can look forward to lots of stretch and challenge. So not allowing you to just be comfortable, to sort of push you outside of your comfort zone, but in a really safe space. So my programs, as I said, are all based on my 30 years of research. So everything is scientifically proven that I use. I use lots of different models and approaches, but they're all highly practical. It's stuff that you can just put into place. So it's no sort of it's I like to say it's the how to do things rather than the telling you should and you must and you ought to and you've got to do these things. It's like, how can you do these things? How can you like identify and really get aligned with what your purpose is? How do you get truly aligned with who is it you want to show up as? Like, what's the best version of you? Lots of work on identity, and then lots of work around what are the things that are stopping you? How do you put some structure in place to actually achieve the things that you want to achieve? Because we can all put a big, hairy, audacious goal out there, but without the daily structure and daily progress towards it, we're never going to achieve it. So, and it's trying to sort of help people really enjoy the journey. It's a bit like the Eastern philosophers say it's the journey towards mastery that the masters love, and knowing that they're never going to achieve mastery, it's the process that we learn to love. So there's lots of that.
Well, you got your work cut out, because I need for you to understand, Toni can bring all of the pixie dust, but you got to show up and you are responsible for doing the work. You got to look in the mirror, see who this person is. Mirrors are not just for reflection. There's also a place there to make a correction. In case you see something you don't like, you can adjust it. Thank you so much, Toni, for sharing your work, your wisdom, your courage, and even being vulnerable to be picked on by a bully, because look, it's made you now a superstar. You've been acknowledged by the queen. Who gets that?
Absolutely.
Please tell my brains how to get in contact with you to do a deeper dive, purchase a copy of the book, and work with you. Again, brains, I bring people all over the world. It's just a point and a click. So don't be distracted by the fact that she's in the UK. She can be right there in your living room.
Absolutely. Yes. So you can find me on LinkedIn at Toni Eastwood OBE. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram under the same name. And you can find me at www.quantum, QUANTUM, vantage, VANTAGE.co.uk.
You got that code.uk, brains? Don't forget that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't want you to miss an opportunity to win. Thank you so much for being here on the edge with let me turn. I know I'm looking for my postcard, but that's all right. You brains, you know where you are. You're right here. Here's a little version.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you, brains. I hope you are all having a fantastic week, and I look forward to maybe seeing you again soon.
You will. Make it a point. Go in, look, like, love, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment. Okay, maybe you're in a situation, maybe you have a question, maybe there's something that Toni doesn't know that she can explore. Share, brains. That's why we bring you this. You didn't pay to get up in here. I suggest you pay attention. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
All right then. Take care. Thank you very much.